What's going on, everybody? This is Mike from TechHog.com, and we're going to be doing a kind of a review here on the Asus EeePad Transformer, which is the lowest priced as of right now honeycomb tablet. And so let's go ahead and jump right on in. We're going to cover the exterior of the device first. As you can see, this is a 10.1 inch screen diagonal, so it's a 16 by 9 ratio, so technically full widescreen. When you guys are watching any kind of movie on the device, you're not going to get those strong, large black bars on the top and bottom. It kind of shrinks them down to a minimum, if at all. So it's a beautiful display. This is a IPS display, which gives you great viewing angles from this way, different angles. It's the same technology display that's found in the iPad and iPad 2, but with a 1280 by 800 resolution. It's a much higher resolution than the iPad. And if you check around, you'll see other sites suggesting that the extra display is actually slightly better than the iPad. But the external sides of it, we can take a look here. This is the proprietary dock for the charging and syncing. So you won't be able to use like a micro USB port. You got to kind of buy Asus's. Here and here, you'll notice there's two small slits that basically act as anchors. If you have the keyboard dock, which allows this device to become called the Transformer, when it connects to the dock, two pins or hooks will actually come inside of here and hold it in place, so if you pull on the tablet, it won't pop out. So that's a little safety feature there. On the left side of the device, you were going to find your power and sleep button here, and your volume rocker, so up and down. Can't really hear any clicking. It doesn't really seem to slide around in place. I mean, they're pretty firm. They're pretty sturdy. So overall, top is blank. So we'll go off to the right side here, and I'll start off with a speaker. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. There's one here, and there is one on the left side. That is your SRS surround sound speaker systems. I will say that, and I said this in the review, the speakers aren't really that loud. I might try to play something a bit. They're not as loud as, say, the iPad or some other tablets I've used, or even my phone. They're decent. You're not going to be holding it up to your ear just to hear it, but it could be a tad bit louder. I'm not sure if they can fix that with a software update or not, but nonetheless, they're not bad. So anyway, here is your micro SD slot. As you can see, I have mine full, which is nice. That allows you to use external storage up to 32 gigabytes, and so this is a 16 gigabyte model, and with a 16 gigabyte card inside, I'm already up to 32 gigs for $399 as compared to the cheapest price of a Galaxy Tab, which is $499 and is only 16 gigs, and a Motorola Zoom 16 gigabytes $599. So between $100 and $200 cheaper than its competitors. For $20 more, you can get an SD card on eBay. Get an extra 16 gigabytes for $20. Total $420, and you're still well below its competitors. You also have an HDMI port here, and you have your 3.5 millimeter jack for your headphones. So that's pretty much the externals. You do have a proximity sensor here, and you do have your 1.2 megapixel front-facing camera for video chat. Nothing to write home about. I mean, it is a decent camera. It does the job well. It's actually better than the iPads, and so it'll work. It's nothing, like I said, nothing fantastic, but for the job, it'll do it. On the back, aside from the fancy skin I have on the back, you do have a 5 megapixel camera on the back. Shoots nice clear pictures when you're in daylight or natural light or inside. The minute you start getting into darker pictures, it does tend to become grainy or blurry, and that's because it's trying to take in as much possible light as it can, and if you move it around slightly, the pictures do become blurry very easily. So it would have been nice to have a flash in the back, but anybody who's taking this thing around to get professional shots, shouldn't be doing that anyway. Your phone would take a better picture and even a point and shoot, so I'm not really going to complain about that. I don't really even use it, so it is what it is. You'll notice in the back, you can probably see in the light this pattern, that kind of, I hate to say it, but honeycomb pattern on the back. That is the texture coming through from the actual plastic on the back. which is that brown color, kind of a Louis Vuitton look to it. And again, the Asus name in the center. This is actually a Tron-inspired skin that I put on it from skinit.com. So I want to protect it, but I don't like using cases, so that's what I decided to go with. You'll notice the front has a little bit of a skin around the edges as well. I don't know if you can see if I bring it up a little bit closer, but there's a little bit of a design or a pattern inside here on the edge, a little bit of a grip feeling. But overall, it's sturdy. The plastic on the back, it is plastic, but it doesn't really flex too much unless you really push hard on it. So I don't really think it's that much of an issue. The nice thing it does, even with the skin, but without the skin, the plastic does give your fingers a little bit more of a grip as opposed to aluminum from the iPad 2 or even the glossiness from some of the other competitors. So the overall build quality, I give it an A. I mean, it's really sturdy. The metal edging on the sides help prevent it. It's sturdy. It's not gonna, unless you drop it hard, it's a little bit more protective. So yeah, the external build quality of the Asus EeePad Transformer, pretty decent. Let's go ahead and turn it on. And here is Honeycomb. There are some slight differences from, like, say, the Zoom and the Galaxy Tab 10.1. You'll notice down here that Asus has decided to reskin, for whatever reason, your manual buttons or your touch buttons. Here's your back, your home, and your multi-tab. I don't know if they feel that it reads better, but it's, I guess, their touch. The clock down the bottom has remained the same. The transitions, the Tron look has kind of carried over. This widget is, again, from Asus. That's kind of their little custom widgets they've added. But, it's, this is running an NVIDIA Tegra 2 processor, dual-core 1.0, and it is quite zippy. I mean, as you can see, it's very responsive. I have no problems going through. Here's your little widgets for your bookmarks up and down. So the Tegra 2 really does run at some nice speeds. I have run into a few hiccups, but they're not hiccups that I would blame on the processor as much as I would probably blame on Honeycomb itself. There's a few things that the operating system probably needs to work out a little bit. But, we should be getting a 3.2 here, I guess, in the next month or two, or hopefully soon. And hopefully even Ice Cream Sandwich on these by the end of the year. It seems that Asus has been pretty good about keeping up to dates and keeping them pretty current and quick, so shouldn't have any problems there. If you're not familiar with Honeycomb, I mean, here's your settings are down here. You can see where it says external drive or external storage is inserted. That is your drive on the side. As you can see, the memory card pops up here. So you wouldn't be able to access any kind of like movies or files throughout without using that. If you tap on that, you can bring up, so you're going to tap on the folder. And this brings you to File Manager. And in File Manager, I'm trying to get out of the light there for you. You see I have a folder called Video, and here's some movies that I have. And obviously I have Avatar on here, so allows you to resume playing from where you left off. And if I can turn it up here, I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's quiet in here, so you're not going to have too much interference, but as you can see, there's only the bar at the bottom is only there because that's where your home buttons are. If you tap, you see they kind of fade away, and there's three little dots that, I don't know if you can see those or not. They kind of fade away, but they kind of let you know where the buttons are, which are pretty nice, but because it has to keep that distance, your black bars that you have, let me bring it up, is only this little sliver right there. And that remains in the bottom, so you're really getting a nice widescreen picture from it. This is actually a lower resolution version of the movie. Could be a little bit brighter, could be a little bit cleaner, but I was using this on my phone, so it doesn't quite scale up as it does as well on the iPad and the Transformer, so I'm probably going to cut a new version of these movies just to make a little bit higher res. So, yep, there's your movies running, and we'll go back. Another kind of a small issue I had, which I've actually managed to get around, is something I'll show you, is if you want to change your wallpapers, it's kind of weird. For instance, if I come in here into the gallery, and I want to pick something that I've downloaded, we'll pick something like this one here. You'll notice this kind of almost like a cross or a plus symbol pattern, and I scale that out. This is going to be your horizontal, and this is going to be your vertical of your wallpaper. If your wallpaper isn't sized to that, it can become blurry when you're actually viewing it, and it blows it in too much. So it does take a little bit of time to set the wallpaper. You can kind of see how large it makes everything. But it does, well, to transition, but there is a way to get around that. So if you want to go ahead and set the wallpaper, there is an app called Wallpaper Wizardry, which allows you to set your wallpaper. Unfortunately, it has to be in this version here, and you can kind of go through them. Oops, and go to your next one. And say like this one here, for instance, if I want to use this, I can hit set. And if I want it to scroll, no scroll, it kind of gives you some nice options here. But let's say I don't want it to scroll. And so what it's going to do is it's going to set that to this. And so it formats it so it actually fits that whole widescreen view, which is kind of nice. The wallpaper I mentioned in the review is actually these nice live wallpapers. But one that Asus managed to make themselves is one called My Water, which is kind of unique. And I'll set it here. You can see the water floating, and it kind of bobs up and down. I turn it back and forth. The water level is actually tied to the battery life. So if you'll see, the battery life is 85%, and the water is at about 85% of the screen. As your battery continues to lose power, the water level will actually sync with it. And you got to hand it to some creative people out there have actually managed to take that and make their own versions of it. And so without having to root your system, you can actually get one that has beater and alignment in it, and actually has the same effects to it as well. Very unique. You actually have bubbles popping up to it. So that's a really cool idea. Really unique to it. Like I said, I really like the idea of tying that in there, and that is something that is exclusive to the Asus Transformer, as it was built by Asus, and everything else seems to work just fine. So we'll go into the camera here, and you can kind of see I'm in a well-lit room, sort of. The shutter speed, you see, you can take about maybe a second and a half there for it to actually go around and click. The better, more light you have outside, it does tend to actually do a little bit better job. Down over here, you can switch and tap on this, and it makes it video. And you can see that it actually changes the format and gives you that 720p layout. And just have the button to go back. And you have your abilities to zoom in, which is kind of nice, and zoom out. That's your optical zoom. So overall, pretty decent.